Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, and today we're going to be going over the daily news as of right now in regards to the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to hit the like button. I see there's a little bit over 100 of us in here, so if you guys could go ahead and hit the like button, make sure to go ahead and do so as of right now so we could kind of get the algorithm up. So if you're in here and you haven't liked it, make sure to hit the like button already. I already see we have a super chat, so I'm going to go to that Master TL 408 for €2. Thank you. I believe that's euros. Correct me if I'm wrong. The race of Harris is very scary. What do you mean by that exactly? I don't really understand exactly what that is, but good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. By the way, guys, I know that Gold Crown Politics, hasn't necessarily been posting lately. I don't know if a lot of you guys have noticed that. I want you guys to know that he is currently sick. He does have COVID right now. So please make sure, like, if you are following Gold Crown Politics, please make sure to understand he hasn't uploaded in a couple days because he is basically sick. So he is fine. He pretty much is just, he has COVID right now. He hasn't even gotten back to me in a few days. I actually reached out to make sure that everything was okay, because I am a little bit concerned that it's been about 4 days. But he is, he didn't just disappear after the polls got worse. He is, he is sick right now. So that's basically it. But his return video should be pretty big, to be honest. But he should be okay. He's not like super duper ill. So, but either way, guys, we're going to be going here and basically looking at the Electoral College as of right now. The model, if we look at RCP, Harris is about to catch up to Trump in favorability, which I never thought that would have ever been the case. But apparently, that's where we seem to be right now. And so basically, Harris is pretty much within striking distance of basically being ahead in the Electoral College, which I know is pretty crazy, but not ahead in the Electoral College, but 100% is almost going to start leading in the approval aggregate, which is a concern, and her national approval rating is getting better. So if you were to basically fill out the Electoral College right now, funny enough, Donald Trump, I mean, he still wins the Rust Belt by a likely margin. All these states are going to be in the safe red column. As of right now, these would all be safe red, including, California, Colorado, New Jersey. These would also be in that likely blue column. If we look at the state of New York, I believe it is now safe. Yep, it just entered the safe column. So New York is now safe for the first time in quite a while for the Democrats in my forecast, which is pretty crazy. May not large is now a 1 point victory for Harris. The state of New Hampshire is also now in the 1.7% column. New Mexico basically rounds out to a 3 point victory for Kamala Harris. Illinois is in the likely column for Harris at around 9 points. Same thing with Colorado. They're kind of voting with each other. Oregon and Washington are in that likely column. Washington's actually a 13 point victory now. South Carolina is in the safe column, and we even see a couple of these, red states like South Carolina are only 18.5 point victories. Ohio and Iowa are only around 16 point victories as of right now. So things are definitely shaping up here in terms of the model. Now I'm gonna get to what this means. Punch a bear, punch a bunch bear for 5 says, are you worried about Harris ahead in the polls and predicted? Wait, she's actually ahead in Polymarket or predicted? Because I think in Polymarket. Oh wow, she actually caught up a little bit in Polymarket today. Trump still leads in Wisconsin, but she's ahead in Michigan and Pennsylvania. I wonder what would have caused that. Maybe it was the event that Trump had today, which I'm going to get to that in a second. North Carolina in the model, I believe, is in the likely column, as well as the state of Nevada. Most of Nebraska is, but now Nebraska's second congressional district is now in the tilt Democrat column. So we are putting that there. Minnesota is now in the tilt Democrat column as well, only 0.8% for Harris. And we have the state of Virginia being a lean Democrat margin, almost a 5-point win. Alaska is now likely, it is actually only a 12.7 percentage point victory. And Hawaii currently is a 20-point victory for Harris. And Arizona and Georgia are now below 5 points. So they are now actually in the lean Republican column according to the forecast. So they have dropped below 5 points. This is what the current data basically looks like as of right now. However, here's the catch, right? A lot of the polling nationally has been very, very inflated for Kamala Harris in the response bias. And so if we were to assume that my poll were to be the most accurate poll, because we weighed properly, and so if we were to technically plug that in, and Harris's favorability rating wasn't even that good. She was down like 14 points in that poll. And this was conducted post dropout. If we were to plug in that into our poll, you would get a way different result. The result would be very, very different. The Rust Belt would actually be safe Republican with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Trump would be up by 10 in the popular vote. Virginia would be a 3-point win for Harris. New Mexico would almost be a 5-point win. New Hampshire and Minnesota are likely margins of victory. Maine is also a likely margin. Illinois, Colorado, and New Jersey are within a couple points. New York is within 8 points as well. And we also see the state of Arizona being a 12-point win, as well as Georgia being in the column. Alaska, a 20-point win. California is almost under safe. Harris only wins Hawaii by around 12 points. And so clearly, if we were to take my poll at face value, you clearly have a much more lopsided election. But with all of the national data right now, it seems like this is the more likely outcome in the Electoral College. So we have gone from Trump basically getting 347 in the Electoral College to now being ahead by 312. And I want to specify this really quick, guys. Donald Trump is in a place where, even though he's losing the ground he had previously, his favorables have been increasing pretty significantly to the point where it's like, okay, well, that's pretty interesting. He's almost at 44% in his favorability. You haven't seen the latest polls. He's been above 45% in all of them, which is very interesting. Only in Forbes, he was at 44. Like, his spread has basically been within single digits in most of the polls, except this outlier Ipsos poll that has him below what he was on January 6th. There's no way that would happen, right? There's no way that's correct. There's no way his approval rating is less than what it was on January 6th. And we even look at the head-to-head aggregate. Trump is still ahead by 2 in the head-to-head, and he's polling the highest he's ever polled in RCP history. This is the highest he's actually ever polled, ever. Literally the highest he's ever polled nationally. He is currently at a 2-point lead, but in terms of his actual vote share, he's at 48%. So he's actually gained since then. He is above what he was here. He's polling the highest he's basically ever polled. But now we see that Harris basically gained about 2 points from Biden. Not really. She only gained like a point and a half, but Trump has basically been polling at the highest he's ever polled. And usually the national averages tend to underestimate his vote share more than the Democrats. The Democrats either off by like within half a point. Trump, on the other hand, his percentage gets underestimated by 2 to 3 points every single time. And so when that happens, you kind of get him possibly winning the popular vote by 4. And then when you apply third party support, you get around a 6 to 7 point victory in the popular vote for Trump as a very likely outcome based on that fact alone. And that's with this sugar high for Harris in the polling data. Right now, in my election model, Donald Trump is only outperforming the aggregate by a point because the favorables are coming in. So this model is basically accounting for the fact of that polling error. Because if Harris's favorables are above of Trump by 5, but he's ahead in the aggregate by 1.5, he's obviously going to underperform the aggregate, where he would still win the Electoral College, by the way. I'm just making that very clear. So, guys, yes, it is getting a little tighter based out of the national data that we have, but the two things I want to mention is, number one, there is a huge response bias of Democrats on the national level. We just had a poll from Oregon have Harris only up by 5 points, and their state sample is actually pretty accurate for the most part. They have a D plus 10 sample, and the sample in 2020 was a D plus 12 sample, and Biden won by 16 because he was able to win over independent voters in the state. I can expect the electorate to probably be D plus 10, maybe even a little bit less than that. And if Trump kind of closes the gap with independents, a 7 to 8 point win in Oregon is actually fairly realistic. We also have to count for the fact that there is a debate coming up very soon. And I don't think that debate is going to go as well for Harris as people are thinking. I think that Trump is probably going to gain from that debate like he did with Joe Biden, except I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think Harris is just going to go out there, and it's kind of the same thing. He's probably just going to let her talk because it's almost the same thing. He's going to go out there and let her talk, and he's going to go out there and debate her on the issues where he has the clear upper advantage on a lot of these issues. Let's be for real. And the way she acts, she is going to be very poisonous to your median voter who's like, what the hell? She's Clinton, but even more unlikable. I mean, her favorables are kind of around where they were for Clinton in 2016. So it's not like she's doing that much better. I mean, she's polling at like 43%. That's really not that great. Hillary Clinton was at 42. She's doing slightly better, but Trump is still neck and neck with her in favorability. Trump was at 37% in favorability. So, yes, it is a quote unquote closer race, but the former president still stands strong in most of the swing states. If I were to basically have a feeling that this is going to become extremely competitive, I would definitely let you guys know for that to be the case. Now, you guys still have to go out and vote. You guys still have to do your part as citizens to do your civic duty. I'm just trying to put together the best information possible for to be able to tell you guys where the election stands, because I want to be able to give you guys a framework. And I really believe that Trump is still the heavy favorite to win the Electoral College. I really do. I think he's still the heavy favorite to win it. He's winning all the Rust Belt states by over 5. Georgia and Arizona just fell below 5 percentage points. Now, for the Senate, unfortunately, that's a little bit of a different conversation, because the Senate, Harris's approval rating going up is definitely going to help Democrats in the model. And now that her approval rating is just down to about -7 nationally, that is definitely not going to help whatsoever when it comes to the Electoral College. And funny enough, when we plug in the new margins, we actually get Arizona as only a 1.3 percentage point victory for this as of right now. Flamey Bird Drake predicted, well, the thing with predicted is that we're still out quite a bit, guys. We are out quite a bit, like, really. And they haven't even released their state forecasts. Their state forecasts tend to be a little bit more accurate, and Trump is literally like neck and neck with right now. It's not like he's behind like 80 to 20 like he was. I don't understand why there's people that are like really dooming over the fact that Trump is still ahead in the aggregate by like a point and a half. That's the best, one of the best leads he's ever had. Like, he literally has not lost the lead at all ever since last September. And so it's like, to me, I really don't think he's as disadvantaged as he is. Now, do we have to be cautious? Yes. But I don't think we have to be at a point where we're dooming because we're going to automatically lose the election. Now, we are going to get 54 Republican Senate seats. We're not in reach of those Rust Belt seats anymore, in my opinion. I think they're going to probably lose them by a couple points. And Nevada is getting to the point where that's under a point, and so is Arizona too. So if Harris continues to gain, we may possibly see a scenario where Kari Lake probably doesn't even win the Senate seat there. And so that's definitely very interesting. Political predictions for two. We really need to hit. Okay. All right. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't really say that in the literal sense, but in either way, Biden's not even running. I don't even know why you would say that. But either way, guys, right now, just to give you a good idea about this, Trump really does not need to do that much to win. I know that sounds crazy, but he doesn't have to do that much to win. All he has to do, guys, this is literally all he has to do. All he has to do is this. Let's say it becomes a really close election and this is the battleground map. All he's got to do is flip Georgia, which is the closest blue state from 2020. That was the closest Joe Biden state, was the state of Georgia that he only won by 0.24%. If you go ahead and get that state and you get Pennsylvania, he already wins the Electoral College. And the Rust Belt has voted together for the past 3 decades, all the way going back to 1992. The Senate has, or the Rust Belt trio has basically voted together in every single cycle. And so I believe if Trump is winning Pennsylvania, since the demographics are very similar, you probably have Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania going to Trump as well. And so that's why I'm not necessarily concerned. And he's up in the aggregate here by around 3.5. And he was down in the aggregate here by 5 and only lost it by 1. So that's why I'm not extremely nervous. I'm cautiously optimistic that he's going to win, but I definitely think that even if the election is close, he still has a good chance of winning. Like, a lot would have to happen for Trump to be the heavy favorite to lose the election, in my opinion. Colbert Gomez for 5 says Trump will win. I guarantee it. You can't really guarantee it, but he's definitely the overwhelming favorite to win the Electoral College. Now, I see people talking about this whole African American thing that he went to, the black journalist event, and that he said this whole thing about, oh, Harris is supposedly Indian at first and now she's black. But guys, it's true. I'm actually glad that he hit her on that. It's true. And there's a lot of African American voters that are not going to appreciate that. Obviously, it's not going to be a majority of them, but I think there's going to be a couple people that are going to look that up and be like, wait, this is kind of fishy. And they could have said, oh, she was the first Indian and African American senator, but they didn't do that. They picked one. But now when she runs for the vice presidency and now for president, all of a sudden she can conveniently use the African American culture to advantage, despite claiming most of her career that she was of Asian Pacific Asian Pacific descent. Like, that doesn't really make any sense. So I'm actually glad he mentioned that up. Like, really, I'm actually glad that he hit her on that, because it exposes her for the whole fakey thing. And then we see here, oh yeah, this is hilarious. Yeah, no, this is hilarious. Yeah, look, new Obama versus the reason Trump's losing. Yeah, by the way, guys, just to say how just to say, like, everybody's like, oh, Harris is the new Obama, and then Vance is, oh my god, Vance is losing. Look, they literally have the exact same unfavorability spread. They are literally just as popular as each other are in net favorability. They're at exactly the same spread. So for everybody that's like, oh, Vance is going to be the reason why Trump loses. No, he is not the reason why Trump is going to lose. All these people that say that Sarah Palin would have been the best nominee ever for VP and that Trump should have picked Sarah Palin, I think is a bunch of crap, to be completely honest. And look at SoCal. He've even seen, you even see here that if you look at the party ID and a lot of these big polls, he actually basically calculated it, and he's calculating around a 2-point error in the aggregate based on the party ID response bias. So Trump in the aggregate would really be up by, if you were to apply that at face value, Trump would actually be up here by around like 3.7%, and actually probably even a little bit more than that, believe it or not. Let me see, what is it? 1.7%. So he gains like a, it's actually not that much. I think it's probably like 3.2%, give or take, and then this would be like 8.2. And so at that point, Georgia and Arizona go back to likely, Nebraska basically goes back to being red, and Minnesota is basically within a point essentially. So it doesn't affect it too much, but it still kind of gives Trump a little bit of a boost. Once this favorability thing goes up, that would definitely give him a major boost as well. And the VP pick is not enough to detriment a campaign like that. Like, it's just not true. See, even look, everybody on Twitter is tagging me and stuff, and they're talking about, how, Harris, that's her dad, and that's her mom. And they're kind of talking about how for most of her life in the beginning, she identified more with her Indian American culture. And then when it was convenient for her politically, she decided to become blacks. And it's true. I hope he keeps bringing that up, and I hope he brings it up to her face. I mean, at the end of the day, see, she was supposed to show up at the conference, and she didn't show up. He was supposed to be there. She was supposed to be there, and it's like, really, like, it's just not true. It's just very disingenuous, and I think it's a smart move to call her out for her phoniness. And either way, he's got time to hit her on the issues. I mean, overall, he's extremely superior on the issues. Man, I cannot wait to join this. I want to join this so bad after the live. I really want to see how this goes because I want to cook Rufus so bad. At this point, this guy has to be a Democrat paid shill. He has to be, because the stuff he's saying is just absolutely ridiculous. He thinks that this is gonna hurt Trump, and he thinks that Trump's talking about the mugshot is gonna hurt him, and he said that it's just, to me, it's a mess. And then what he will say is, oh, source, Trump wants to replace JD Vance, and it's like, okay, where'd you get your source? And he never names the source. So it's like, he is full of shit. This guy is not genuine. This guy more than likely is some sort of controlled opposition for the left because of the way he acts. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for Trump, but then bashes Trump. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And he bashes her on like the stupid things, the stupid reasons. Like, at the end of the day, and he's like, he calling Vance beta. Rufus is more beta than Vance would ever be. Vance actually went to the military. Rufus hasn't done shit. Literally, he cried his eyes out when his daddy DeSantis basically decided to, basically dropped out because he lost Iowa by 30 points when he thought that he had a serious chance. You guys want me to go into the thing and see what would happen? You guys want me to go into the space with Rufus? Let me poll chat and see if they want me to go in here. Rufus, should I go into the space with Rufus? No, let's see. Let's see what would happen. I wanna see this. Let's see. I wanna see what chat thinks if I should go into the space with Rufus. Let's see. Kamala's biggest defense problem by far is that she's playing defense. Yeah, she is. That's why she's bringing out Megan Thee Stallion to perform for her. If that was the case, she wouldn't have to. She wouldn't have to be doing that if they were a winning campaign. But they're not. They're just not. So it's like, really? Like, come on. Let's let's see. Clearly enough of the chat wants me to join it. So we're gonna join and we're gonna see what happens. Let me put on my headphones really quick. Where are my headphones? So that the audio kind of like cancels out or whatever. Let's see what happens here. Time to cook him. Let's see. Can you guys still hear me, by the way? Because I just connected my headphones like right now. So All right, just let me know if you guys can hear me really quick. Because I just connected my headphones. I just don't want the audio to come back. And let me make sure that I think the desktop audio is gonna work. Guys, when it starts and I join and you hear people talking, let me know if you can hear them talking as well.
I have, I'm gonna keep helping her,
And then the other campaign I worked was same election, but a little before that. So that was the runoff that I worked for Whitmire. Before that, in the main election, I worked for Tony Busby. He was running for District G here in Houston, and there was some shady shit that went down. I kind of like put it up in the bubble, but essentially what happened is it was an extremely
Let's
close
see if they
election, and there was this third party candidate. And it did surprise me that he didn't vet him being like one of the best lawyers in the country, but he didn't. They didn't vet this like third candidate, right? And it turned out to be what they call a ghost candidate. Okay, have y'all ever heard of a ghost candidate before?
let's see if they even let me in.
Okay, it's basically a candidate that like they don't even exist in real life. Um, Somebody went in and fabricated the name, like every address, phone numbers, everything. And there's documentation. Marissa has fuck, what's her name? Marissa Hanson posted a
He's not
full
letting me
story on
in.
this right after the election, and that was the deciding factor between Busby winning, okay, and Busby losing, and Busby ended up losing.
Yeah. All right. Gonna wrap the space in a few minutes, but we have okay, Foxy Farmer, go ahead.
Yeah, he's not letting me in. He's he's not letting me in because he's either too busy looking at the chat or he is too he's too scared. He is he's basically he either is too busy, you know, in the space, or he just doesn't want to let me in because he knows I would cook him. It's very obvious. Oh wow, Critical has uploaded to his main YouTube channel clarifying he was not leaving the internet but quitting a few side projects like podcasts. Critical quit. Okay, sure. He is Charlie did not decide to leave the internet. He's only taking an indefinite hiatus. Okay, yeah, sure. Basically, he is cooked when it comes to the podcast. And so now that everybody thinks he left, there's no way. West Downer, does he know who you are? Yes, he knows who I am because if you go to Twitter, there's many threads of us replying back and forth to each other. I mean, I comment on his stuff all the time. I even said on Twitter that I would debate him and have Retaking the Nation moderate it, and he hasn't even responded to it yet. And then I even said, when is Daddy DeSantis gonna come pick up his bitch? And then I added him, but he hasn't even responded to that. And he's even said it multiple times. Look, like, really soars. Trump is increasingly angry about Harris's rising poll numbers and repeatedly shouting at Wills and Love. What's his source? What's the source? Can you name your source? Can you name the source? I guess not because he's making this shit up. He is a paid, he has to be some sort of controlled opposition from the left because the way he acts like a Democrat more than most of the Democrats on this platform act. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I really don't understand. I really really don't get it. It's pretty ridiculous to be honest, and I can't believe he actually thinks that that's gonna hurt Harris in the long run, or that's gonna hurt Trump because he said that in the long run. I think that's honestly really really stupid. I think that's dumb because a lot of the TikTok, social media platform, actually that clip is blowing up on TikTok and he's got a lot of positive reception from it. So just saying. Kazin, are you friends with Rep? Yes, I am. I actually am friends with Rep as of right now. I am friends with Rep. I talk to him on a decent basis. His Pennsylvania rally was abysmal. His campaign is in a tailspin. What are you talking about? He's polling the highest he's ever polled in his entire political career, where he always gets underestimated then. And his campaign really isn't flailing. They had to replace the original candidate who was going to lose. The only reason why they replaced the original candidate is because he is going to lose. He was going to lose. So how can you say that Trump's campaign is flailing if they had to replace the original guy because they knew that he was going to lose the election? It literally makes no sense at all. Like, these people that are saying that Trump's campaign is flailing, his polling numbers are higher in terms of the raw vote share that he's getting that I've ever seen ever. That's the highest he's ever gotten. So the fact that these people are like, oh, his campaign is flailing, doesn't really make any sense. Harris is bringing back, like, Harris is basically bringing back, you know, is bringing back some far left Democrats. But Trump is gaining with some of these independent and Republican voters. That's what we've been seeing. So, yes, both of them have gone up. Now, do I think Harris is getting within a couple points in some of these states or even winning Georgia or Arizona? No, especially not Arizona, because I actually think she may even do worse there. The Democrats replaced their nominee 107 days before the general election. And the last time this happened, the Democrats had to replace Lyndon B. Johnson. And look what happened. Nixon cooked them. Now, it was relatively close because if these states would have gone blue, then Humphrey probably would have won the Electoral College. I can actually go ahead and look at this. But I think if I think it would have actually ended up being an Electoral College win. We could probably even pull it up here, actually. We can go down to historical presidential election results, but essentially, okay, definitely not Ulysses Grant, not that one. But if we go down here, we go down to 1968, and we look at the Electoral College map, we can basically see that if you would have flipped these really close blue states, the first one that basically would have gone would have been a Missouri. That would have been the first one to go. Then you would have had the next one, I think, would have been uh Ohio and Illinois. That would have brought it pretty close. He's already above there. And so he only needed one more. And the next one after that would have been California. So realistically, the election was within a couple points, but Nixon still won where it mattered and was able to win the Electoral College by a pretty decent amount against the candidate that they had to replace the Democrats with. And so that's why I'm somewhat confident that he's still going to win. Now, is he going to probably win in a landslide? I mean, the data is indicating that probably that's not going to be the case anymore, but I still think he's going to have a good chance of winning the Electoral College at the end of the day. And so it is pretty ridiculous to see everybody dooming this hard over Donald Trump. He's polling, in terms of his raw vote share, the highest he's ever polled ever. McClellan and Associates finally polled, and they have Trump up too. That's interesting. I actually want to look at the crosstabs for this because they tend to be a pretty right-leaning pollster. Oh, wow. Right track is now down to 18%. Very interesting. That's pretty interesting. Republicans are ahead by 2 in the congressional ballot. Job approval, Biden's at 38%. That sounds about right. Joe Biden is at 38. Opinion Joe Biden. I guess this is like his job approval. Yeah. See, his approval is higher than his opinion favorability is higher than his job rating. Kamala Harris is now at 45, so maybe she is gaining in some type of favorability way, but if we look here, Trump is up by quite a bit on Harris right now. And we see, oh, this was actually a Biden-Harris matchup. Let's go ahead and see if they pull. Okay, here it is. This is the Kamala Harris. So Trump is up 3 points in the East. He's up 5 in the Midwest, up by 11 in the South, and Harris is up in the West by a decent amount. And we see here generic GOP. Trump's getting about 93% of the Republican vote, getting 5% of Democrats, 2% of undecided. There's 2% undecided. We see generic undecided kind of breaking there. Approve of Biden, 7% are breaking to Trump, 90% going to Harris. Disapprove of Biden, 75% are going to Trump, but 17% of those are going to Harris, which is kind of interesting, actually. That is a little strange. Republican here, 91% of Republicans going to Trump, 88% of Democrats going to Harris. She's not even getting over 90%. And Trump is winning independents by 1 with 19% undecided, by the way. That's a pretty high amount of undecideds. Trump is closing in this moderate gap pretty fairly, actually, which is kind of interesting. Even people who identify as liberal, Trump is getting more liberal voters than Harris is getting conservative voters. That's also pretty interesting. Trump is winning the white vote. If we were to put this on here, Trump is winning the white vote there by 18 points. So that already brings him up to 318 or 313. Uh, African Americans, he's at 18%. So that basically ends up getting you D plus 56 with them. So that's going to decrease the lead by quite a bit. That goes down a little bit more for Harris. Doesn't really change any states. And then Harris is winning Hispanics by, I think if I do the math here, it's only like 16. And so if we were to go ahead and plug that in, Trump is up 318 in the Electoral College. Asian voters, oh, I guess they don't have Asian voters, but basically with those demographics, that's basically what this looked like. And let's say these are about like, these shipped about 15 points each. Trump would basically be up about 331 to 318, depending on who you looked at it. So even with this poll having him up by 2 in the popular vote, he actually still wins fairly easily in the Electoral College in the crosstabs regardless. Men break for him by 9. Harris only wins women by 5. That wouldn't be enough. And with RFK, Trump only leads by 1. I think he might actually be hurting her. And look at this. Regardless of who you're voting for president, who do you think is more likely to win? Trump is up in this question by quite a bit. And this tends to be slightly more accurate sometimes, depending on how you look at it. If you look at Eastern, Trump, most of the East thinks Trump's going to win. Midwestern, it's not even close. South, it's a 20-point win. West, it's tied. Literally vote for Harris. 79% of Harris voters think she's going to win. 11% of them think Trump is going to win. And if we look at party identification, 14% of Democrats think Trump's going to win. And almost a majority of independents think that Trump would win the election as well. And so it's like a large amount of whites think he's going to win. 25% almost of African Americans think he's going to win. Almost a majority of Hispanics think, I think Harris is ahead by 2 on that question. Over 55, Trump is overwhelmingly favored on that question. Mary voters think he's going to win. And what's pretty interesting is that when you ask somebody who you think is going to win, usually a person will tend to side with the winner. So it's like, are these numbers really accurate? Because in 2020, when you ask this question, yes, Biden would be ahead by quite a bit in the polling, but usually this question would result in a fairly similar result, either a little bit closer or a little bit bigger. You're seeing a pretty big discrepancy where on this question, Trump is beating her by way more than, Biden was even beating Trump by on this question. And so that's pretty interesting. And we see the economy is the highest here. We see honest integrity is at 4, which is interesting. Election integrity is all the way down there, but social is kind of weird. I guess that may be immigration or something like that. Security is at 17. And we kind of see that there. Economy, social, no, that's not it. Security, I guess, is here. So for whatever reason, climate change, healthcare, that category is slightly above immigration, which I don't really think that's accurate per se. The economy, if we look here, I believe it's most a slight plurality of voters think it's basically tied in terms of whether we think we're in a recession or not. Basically, it's practically tied. So the economy is, yes, Trump can leverage it to an extent, but it's not going to be something that he can really leverage the most part. Now, if you look at the opinion, getting better or worse, it's actually gone up for getting worse. So it's not like the economy is improving that much, to be honest, either. And we even see which of the following best describes how inflation costs have impacted your personal household financial situation. 1, with inflation, higher prices, we are struggling. We are not struggling, but inflation, higher prices have made a significant impact. Despite inflation, we are still able to afford. And we see here impacted 84% of the electorate says they have been heavily impacted by inflation. So it's not something that Alan Lichtman can ignore for the most part. If you're in favor for a smaller government, that's popular by 15 points, and that's something Trump is trying to really go for, and the Republicans as a whole. And if we look at this, we see 51% of the electorate listened to Trump's RNC speech. And so that's interesting. We see about 71% of Republicans tune in, 35% of Democrats tune in, and a decent amount of independents also tuned in as well. So we're seeing a high sample of people saying that they tuned into the RNC. And we even see streaming online is now at about 27%, which is pretty interesting. That's a high amount of the electorate. And funny enough, if you look at this, the group that actually streamed it the most is actually independent voters, which is pretty interesting. The demographic that was most likely to stream it racially was between whites and Hispanics equally. And you see people under 55 way overwhelmingly to stream it than people over 55. And men were a little bit more likely to stream it than women as well. And what's pretty interesting here is that we see that basically a similar amount of the electorate watches right-wing news compared to left-wing news, and more conservatives watch Fox News than liberals watch CNN. That's also a pretty interesting analysis as well. And we see about 28% of the electorate does not watch cable news, and that's the electorate that's going to decide the election. That's why these things with Trump, like, oh, you said this about Kamala Harris. Guys, 28 to 35% of the electorate doesn't even watch cable news. Like, they're not going to get the propaganda from either side. Facebook, look at this. Apparently, 72% of the electorate uses Facebook, which is crazy. I don't even believe that number. YouTube 69%, that sounds about reasonable. Instagram 47, TikTok 29. You see? And look at this X. 27% of voters use Twitter. So for people like Rufus to say, "Oh my god, he's doomed," or all these people freaking out on Twitter, it's only making an impact with really not that many people, to be honest with you. And that was actually from June. Here, 23% of the electorate is looking at Twitter. And funny enough, more Democrats and independents actually look at that more than even Republicans do. And we see the group that's most likely to look at Twitter for the most part is actually African Americans, slightly over whites. People under 55, obviously, men are more likely to look at it than women as well. Reddit 19%, Threads about 5, Rumble 3%. So Rumble is not really something. I wonder if Truth is 5% of the electorate. So it's not really, or 3% now, I think it is. And so my bad, guys. I'm good now. Sorry, guys. I just realized my OBS is not open. How's the stream still running if OBS is not even open? It's kind of weird. Yeah, guys, I'm good now. Yeah, I'm good. It's just I've kind of been having this cough. It's starting to like finally go away. Guys, I have an entire bottle of water. I literally got it for this exact reason before I even streamed. Guys, I've been having like this weird cough for a bit, but I've been taking medicine stuff. Trust me, it was a lot worse before. Like, there's a reason why I didn't stream a lot like 2 weeks ago. I was literally coughing every 5 seconds. If I would have been streaming like 2 or 3 weeks ago, you guys would have thought there was something like seriously wrong. Like, if you guys remember in some of my comments, like in some of my videos, sometimes I would forget to edit out the coughing like a bit. It's because I would cough like 9 times during the recording. Like I would cough like 9 or 10 different times. I just cut them out. Sometimes I would just forget to edit out like one or two of them. And no, I don't have COVID. I actually got tested for COVID once right after one of the streams, and I literally don't even have COVID. It's just a really annoying cough. And I don't even feel sick. It just so happens to be that this cough is making me like feel kind of weird. So, but all right, guys, I think I'm pretty much gonna end it off here because basically that's pretty much it for today, to be honest. So at this point, make sure to go ahead and hit the like button now and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. I'm trying to open up OBS for me to be able to end the stream, but I will see you guys in the next live tomorrow. I'll be posting more content, and make sure to see you guys very, very soon.